Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Swahili Sunday, or good evening, depending on where you're listening. If you are listening after the fact, thank you so much for listening. If you are listening here on Instagram and are not following Baskets and Beads, I'd appreciate a follow. And thank you so much for joining. So today, uh, I've got, gosh, I'm less than 2 weeks out from going to Kenya, and I have so much to do to get ready to go and not, there's not enough time. There were a couple of pop-up events. There's one this weekend, and I am participating next weekend. Actually, Fair Trade Long Beach, we are celebrating an anniversary on World Fair Trade Day, so I will be at Fair Trade Long Beach next Saturday. We were having a little party starting around 3, but there is our second Saturday from 12 to 4. So I will not be setting up, but I will be there after I go. I'm running around. I have a bunch of things left that I need to do and things I need to get. Still, I have I have so many things to do. My back's still not that great. I have been getting some treatment. I actually have my referral right here to go get some physical therapy and make some adjustments to make some changes to get my core stronger. The indigos help me a lot with, like, when I get up with pain, I walk her and the pain dissipates somewhat. But this has been a little bit of a journey the last month and I'm sure a lot of it's got stress getting ready to go to Kenya and other things that are going on. And it's been interesting, needless to say the least. But what I want to share about today is my why. A lot of people, they always say you have to have your why, and I I understand part of my why. I feel this is God's calling on my life to work in this uh, particular realm, helping the women and the children that I'm working with in Kenya. Uh, I I always think that you can't really pick where you get called to serve. I've been in the service all my life as a military veteran, serving in the military for 23 years, and then being of service to other organizations when I got out of the military and started to find my way. I was involved in Mary Kay. I'm still involved in Mary Kay for personal use, but I was doing Mary Kay and working on figuring out what I was going to do in life. And I started to attend seminars and things like that and thinking about developing a business. I initially I started to speak. I joined Toastmasters in 2006 and started to speak and work with an organization called the Women's Peace Campaign. And we went into shelters and we were doing leadership and self-esteem workshops for women in crisis, because I had been a woman in crisis in my past and I had a real passion to help empower women. And I switched that into, I love motorcycling. Unfortunately, I haven't really been able to ride much the last couple of years because of the things going on with my back. I've traveled thousands of miles on my motorcycle. I developed a brand called Pink Biker Chick, which was about taking control of the handlebars of your life and empowering women to go from the back seat to the front seat in their life, take control of the handlebars, roll on their throttle to success. And that gave way to so many people I was helping with negotiation suggested I start teaching negotiation as a way to educate people about negotiation. I've been negotiating all my life, both personally and professionally. Wrote a book called Think Like a Negotiator. Started speaking and training with the foundational principle to empower people to success through having the confidence to negotiate and stand up for themselves. And I don't think I ever really connected deeply to the why. And they always tell you you need to connect to your why, right? You need to know what your why is and why you're doing the things you're doing. And I recently attended a course put on by Fairtrade LA. Shout out to Fairtrade LA. Thank you so much for putting on that training with Rochelle. She really, I was taking notes, and I had described my story. And a lot of times when I talk about how to think like a negotiator and ask for exactly what I want, I'm always sharing about how my asking got me to Kenya in the first place. And had I not asked for donations to go on the trip to Kenya, that I would not be doing what I am doing in Kenya now when I got called to serve there. And I am very passionate about helping these women. I love these women. They're my sisters. I miss them when I'm here. I'm so excited that I get to go see them very soon. But I really, and then the educating children portion. So our slogan used to be empowering women, saving children, but the whole saving philosophy is seen as a negative connotation, some power dynamic that you're exercising over people or whatever. So we changed it from empowering women to educating children. And educating children by we raise money. The goal is to have enough orders going and selling products so the ladies will be able to cover 100% of the school fees for their kids. But in the meantime, we raise funds. Part of the funds that we raise, a good portion of the funds we raise through the nonprofit, are to be able to pay school fees for kids. And we've paid up to, I think, a dozen kids at one time. Right now, I think we're at seven or eight kids that we're covering school fees for. And that includes the school fees, their supplies like books and school supplies, their uniforms. Most kids in high school age, they board. So there's fees for that. They have to have a mattress and sheets and toiletries and all the things. And that has to be replenished every month. And I got to thinking from doing this course the other day, it really, I somehow really connected deeply to my why. And I wanted to share it both for the women and the children. Let's talk about the children first. Why is it important to me? What is my why for educating children? Why is it important that they have an opportunity to go to school? Not just because it's the right thing to do, right? It's like, oh, okay, this is a good thing to do. There's a why for me. There's a why that connects really deeply to this. And if you know anything about my story, you know I was a high school dropout. My mother died of alcoholism when I was 12. You heard me talk about that before. And if you've ever heard me talk about anything to do with my life. And before she died, she was drinking herself to death. So she was not in the mindset of somebody who was a clear-minded parent who could parent me appropriately. My father was an alcoholic too. He was a very passive alcoholic. He drank consistently, and then there were times where he would go play golf and he'd come home falling down drunk. I don't even know. He would have definitely got a DUI back in the day, driving home that drunk. And he would come in the house and my parents would fight and rage. I mean, my mother left me in the store on purpose when I was 5 years old. I didn't really think about that until I was a mother of my own and thought back about how that played out and thought, wow, she left me. And then neither one of them ever told me they loved me. They never encouraged me. After my mother died, my father basically sat on the couch, drank beer, smoked cigarettes, said nothing to me, didn't parent me, didn't guide me, I'm not going to go into the details, but let some things happen to me that a young girl shouldn't have happened to her in her own house. And not by him, but by other people, like a boyfriend that he allowed to stay there as when I was a teenager. I just, I think about that now as a parent and I thought, you have got to be kidding me. But all of those things, and the fact that I dropped out of high school, there was nobody to encourage me. There was nobody to help me, support me, get me back into school, tell me the importance of education, support my ability to turn my life around. By the grace of God, I say that I turned my life around. So I got my GED. Actually, my father left me when I was 18. I came home one day to a note of eviction on the house, and we lived in Texas. He'd moved from Texas to Florida. Didn't leave me a forwarding address. Nothing. No, bye. Have a nice life. You're 18 now. You're responsible for yourself. I ended up moving into an empty apartment. I had like a mattress and box spring and a few belongings and not much. And I'm good. Thanks for joining here on Instagram. And I lived like that for about 6 months. And then I ended up moving to Florida. He let me move in with him for a while, but I ended up getting my own job, and I saw a commercial about the Air Force, and I say that uh, it's God's perfect plan that I joined the Air Force. I went and got my GED. At that time, you had to have a GED to join the Air Force. You nowadays, I think, if you haven't finished high school, you have to have at least a college course. But yeah, so that that trajectory enabled me to go into the Air Force, get training in a good job, get schooling. I ended up getting 2 associates and a bachelor's degree, and then I went on to a 23-year career in the Air Force. I retired, and now, thankfully, I started working for a defense contractor doing the same thing I did in the military, contracts management. I went out on my own speaking for a while, and then COVID kind of killed a lot of in-person speaking, and I didn't have the I didn't pivot well, as they say, to online to be able to earn enough income to do that. So I ended up deciding to take a job because I really needed to make sure that the ladies in Kenya were supported. So explaining all of that, all of my background, that's my why it's important to me for these kids to be able to be in school. I am that person, I'm that support system that can help them and make sure that they get the school fees paid, or I help their mothers be empowered enough to and work over here hard to get more products sold so I can place more orders with them so they are able to pay the school fees themselves. But in the meantime, raising funds to the enable us to put more kids in school. I'd love to be able to put all those kids in school. I'd love to actually build a school if that's something Layla said. She's had a dream about building a school to make sure that kids get educated. Because a problem that happens in Kenya is that a lot of kids, especially young girls, they drop out, they get pregnant, they have kids, they don't get the opportunity to go back to school unless they're in there's a program for some, but then they end up not finishing school. Their literacy rate is low. They're unable to get any kind of employment unless it's some kind of menial labor, if that. So this is an opportunity for kids that really want to. And I ask every one of them, like we just put one in school. Her name's Rebecca, and you can see it. It's posted. I posted that on Fair Trade Friday. And I asked her, I'm like, okay, if I do my part to put you in school, what are you going to do? And we were on video call. Layla had us on a video call, and she said, I'm going to study hard. I want to be in school. I want to study. I want to be in school. And the thing that amazes me, I have a friend who's a teacher, and most of the kids that he's teaching and that all the teachers in that school are teaching, they don't want to be there. They're disruptive. They don't care. They want to be on their phones. They just want to be, all they care about is being influencers or whatever. But these kids that we're putting in school, they want to be in school. But it ties back to my why of being a high school dropout and having nobody there to support me and push me and guide me to get an education. So that's my why with the kids. I really am passionate about making sure that they stay in school and get educated. If they want to study, if they really want to study, they'll have that opportunity as long as I can keep raising funds to help pay their school fees. And it's not cheap. It would be expensive for a lower income family. It'd be expensive for anybody here to pay those fees. It doesn't match up to the median income. And I don't know if they're boosting it a little more because they know that there's some people in America helping, but it's enabling them to go to school. I get the school fee sheet, but then there's the supplies and all the other stuff. And then we have to go, all the costs of things have risen over there. If they all wear uniforms, so they have to get a uniform. So that I'm really passionate about helping those kids, and which is one of the things that we're raising funds for this trip. I've really dialed back everything because like I said, if you listen to, sorry, I got to switch and adjust for my back. If you listen to B&B Live on Thursday, there's been a lot of organizations and people who had committed to raising funds or were looking at funding a good portion of the fundraiser. And they all on the same day, they either said, no, not this year. No, can't do it, or ignored me. So I was just like, okay, we have to back off. I haven't taken it down off the fundraiser, but primarily, and we are still raising funds if you want to donate, but primarily we're going to put more kids in school and spend some time with the women, have a time where we can go somewhere and have the women connect with each other. We have two groups now, and get those two groups to connect and build community and build support and talk about what their needs are and what their desires are and what their wants are. So those are really the main things we're going to focus on. We don't have the funds to do the mobile medical clinics, so we're not going to do that. We also don't have the funds if the land comes available to buy the land, so we're not going to do that. And any other expenses, some of that may end up coming out of my pocket if I can't raise enough. But the most important thing is that these kids, which I don't have that much to fund that, but I'll figure that out somehow. But if you want to donate, givesendgo.com/Mission Kenya. It will be used to put kids in school and to basically minister to these ladies. And most of the other stuff we're going to scrap for now because I just haven't raised enough funds. And uh, we'll just see where that goes next year. But then the other part of my why, the second part of my why is, so our slogan is empowering women, educating children. And I explained at the beginning about how uh, women's empowerment has been a foundational principle for me since, I guess, even being in the military. It's about just having opportunities or whatever. It's not about being disrespectful or usurping men per se. It's about just being, as a woman, standing in your own power and not making choices. And if you do make a choice where you get abused, to how to heal from that and to turn your life around so you can still have a happy, joyous, and free life. I've not going to go into a lot of details here. I have spoken about it in presentations depending on the audience, but I was assaulted as a teenager. I was assaulted in the military. I was abused. I had a pretty serious domestic violence incident before I was married to my kid's father. And just a lot of things like that left me disempowered and beaten down. And a lot of those choices I made had to do with what I saw my parents do. My parents beat each other up, and they were raging alcoholics. So I chose that kind of lifestyle to perpetrate what I was used to. And it wasn't until I realized that and did the work to break that pattern, to turn that around, to empower myself and to love the person that I see when I look in the mirror. And that's why I'm passionate. That's my why about helping the women. I want these women to be able to love who they are and connect and build community with each other and trust each other and reach out to others in kindness and support and uplift others instead of tearing others down. There's so many people, we see it all the time. There's so many people here who tear people down. They tear each other down. They don't lift and support each other. They're not there. They don't have each other's backs. They don't want somebody else to win. That's why I think Like a Negotiator is about win-win results, creating win-win results. You don't want to win at somebody else's loss. You want to if you want somebody to win, you want to help them win. And that's what I want to do for these women. And that's what I have been working hard to do for the women in Kenya that I'm working with. We have 30 in the Kipsongo slum, and now the group up in Mount Elgon that Layla told me has gone from 15 to 20. So it's growing, but the primary driving factor of that was my struggles in life. And Pastor Rick Warren had always said, don't waste your pain. So I have a level of pain that I've dealt with and I've overcome, thankfully. And that's why I want to empower the women. So empowering women, educating children, that's kind of the foundational basis of my why. And this is why I'm so passionate about helping these women and why I'm doing this. I mean, I could not do what I'm doing and go on and live my life and do whatever. I mean, I have a nice job with a company and I could go and do that, but that's not what God's called me to do. And that's not my purpose. And I'm very passionate and I'm very dedicated to helping these women and their children, make sure that the children have the opportunity to be the next generation that gets out of poverty. Some of these women will not get out of the Kipsongo slum because they're older, and it's taking a long time to make things go. COVID set us back a couple of years, and we're still working on recovering out of that. So still climbing out of that, but have a plan and moving forward and working on developing that plan a little better and seeing where things go. But I am passionate and about helping empower women and educate children, and that's my why. So if that's touched you in any way and you think, okay, I understand why you're doing this. This is not just some, oh, it's a nice thing to do and I'm helping people. There is a really deep why connected to what I'm doing. And I'd appreciate your support in any amount. I'm leaving for Kenya in a couple of weeks. I've raised, I don't know, less than $4,000. Some of that's come out of my pocket. So I haven't really raised that much from people. And with my back situation, I just got overwhelmed and in too much pain to even care about reaching out and asking anybody for help. It's hard when you're in a lot of pain where you can't walk. I went and had an injection on Thursday and it helped some, but I'm still hurting, but at least I can walk without wincing every time I take a step. It's hard to be able to exist with that much pain going on. And I'm doing the things behind the scenes to make that work and to make that better. So, but if you're interested, if you're listening on Instagram, you can go to givesengo.com/mission Kenya. It's in the whatever it is. It's in the link. I can't talk today. Yes, I can. I'm going to put it in the chat. Sengo.com/mission Kenya. I hope I can see that right. I have a givesengo.com. Yeah, it's correct. So I just put it in the chat. You can click on the link and donate. I'd appreciate any support that you can give. $5, $20, $100 or more. If you know an organization that likes to give to causes, that would be helpful. I would definitely love that as well. So any help and support you can give, I'd appreciate it. And I hope that if you didn't really know my why before, I hope this helps you to really understand my why. It goes back to especially with the women, it goes back to my first trip to Kenya when we were up at Mount Elgon, and I was asked to speak to it at a church. And I actually spoke to the men there about putting on the full armor of God. And after I was done, there was a lady in the back of the room waiting for us to be finished with our presentation, just waiting. And she wanted us to pray for her because a warring tribe had come through the night before and they were looking for her husband to kill. He ran off. So they, group of them assaulted her. And she was wanting prayer and she wanted to understand how she could get back to being whole. And since that's happened to me, I was able to share with her. I don't even remember the words I said. It was from God to me to her, and somebody translated it. And I prayed for her, and we all prayed for her. And today I've heard that she's doing well and she's recovered from that and she's happy. And that was my opportunity to share my pain and say, you can get past this. It doesn't have to be the do all end all and destruction of your life. You can still love who you are despite the fact that something like that happened to you. You can still lead a happy life despite that fact and still be a good mother to your children. And so that's my why. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm passionate about doing this. And I hope you'll decide to come on board and give some kind of support for my trip. I'm leaving May 24th. I'm going to be there 2.5 weeks. And it's not enough time. And I wish I could go more than once a year. But right now, that's just the way it works out, that I can only go once a year. It's expensive to travel over there. I don't use any of the funds right now for my travel. I've been funding my travel out of my own salary from my job. And I would hope one day that I'd be able to fund that out of out of the funds too, so I don't have to cover that cost. But that's how it's worked, and that's these funds will totally be used for just the women and kids, and we will have pictures and a report. You'll see what we're doing there. Love for you to follow along and to stay connected. Again, if you're following on Instagram, or if you're on Facebook and you are on Instagram, please follow Baskets and Beads Kenya. I think I'm 9 people away from over the 2,000 mark, which the more people you get, the more eyes you get on your things. And we might be able to get more people to place orders, which in the long run will help the ladies. So, all right, everybody, that's all for today. I am going to go finish listening to the message online from church. I don't think I can go sit in church today, so I'm watching it online again. And then I'm taking Crazy Paws Indigo to go and actually have some swim time. And let's see, let me stop this ticker going by. There we go. So givesendgo.com/Mission Kenya. And I'd appreciate you to consider a donation for this trip. Every little bit will help, even put one more kid in school. So that's our goal, is to put more kids in school. We actually are going to go visit the schools and visit with the kids at school, because they're going back to school on Tuesday. The school's year round in Kenya, so they take breaks throughout the year. So they're on a break right now for a couple weeks, and they're going back. And we will be traveling to their schools to see them, because they're all boarding in different places. Some of them are in day school, but most of them are boarding. So we'll be traveling around. We'll take a day or two to go see them, and looking forward to that. All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening, and I will see you soon. Nakupenda.